Okay, Valorant is effed from the Score Esports. So what is going on with Valorant?
Too many agents or too many different pieces of utility? That's a question that seems to come up every couple of months and
Oh, is that what's really going on with Valorant? Too many characters, too many abilities? Who gives a shit?
after the release of Tejo and Waylay, a lot of pros seem to think that the visual clutter in the game is at its all-time worst. So,
I mean, weren't they complaining about that in the beginning?
at what point does Valorant just become too much?
I mean, it ain't gonna change. That's for sure.
So despite being labeled as the more beginner-friendly cousin of Counter-Strike back in 2020, Valorant has become pretty f***ing complicated. We've all seen that Cadril clip.
And that isn't that like an ironic sentence? Like between there's only like really two tac shooters as far as like competitive, like I don't know, first person shooters go, tactical wise. You know, you got Counter-Strike, been around for a while. It's kind of realistic, based in reality. Instead of abilities, you get grenades and stuff, and you have like guns that are based on real life guns. And yeah, you got terrorists and your counter terrorists. Valorant, you have agents, and then you have abilities instead of grenades. I mean, yeah, you still got grenades, but like abilities. You got abilities.
Look at this chat! Let's rush the bomb site.
You can't.
Blue wall. Raining smoke. Nami ult. I don't know what that is. Nasus E all over the site. Incoming nukes. Nukes dropping down.
Jesus.
Wall. Pushing over the rocket with rocket launcher flying over. Insane splash grenade. In laser beam from the sky. This guy can't see anything. He sees blue. This guy sees yellow. He sees something. He's flashed. This guy peeks. A kill. I can see. I can't see. This guy's casting a spell. More smokes. More rain. More lasers from the sky. Green. This guy's a dog. Sniper. And then the site's taken. Like, what?
Damn. Okay, I did not see that clip. That's news to me. Yeah, that seems pretty atrocious. I think Valorant is fucked. Oh my god. Bro, that is crazy. Is this the beginning of the downfall of Valorant?
What in the is that game?
I'm sure anyone who doesn't play Valorant is still trying to decipher what the hell was actually going on in that clip. Now, to be fair, that was
I mean, it's just a lot of abilities, dude. And
back during the Harbor and Viper meta that dominated throughout most of 2023, but even Valorant players had a good laugh because of Cadril. It was a pretty wild meta to look at, even if you understand the game. But what if I told you that things have arguably gotten worse? Throughout the
really, I mean, understandably, with all that visual clutter and from all the pro players, I mean, if you're like a pro player sitting in like any one of those corners and like you go to peek, you already know the angles. You all like, as long as you have like some sort of like what do you call it, like visual indicator that shows you about where like the doorway is, the window, the choke point is, you kind of know where the enemy's gonna be. I mean, essentially what the walls and all that shit is doing is like taking away your micro. All right, you still like know like, okay, about right here is like a short peak, about right there is like a wide peak. If about right there is like, if they keep going, they're just like fully committing it on the swing or something like that. So pros, like, they have just so much time and effort into the game that they know mostly where it's at, but to like a normal person that doesn't really play Valorant at like a high level, and they're just like a casual, maybe they're like a casual fan, and they see what's going on at the tippity top, they're just like, whoa, not doing that. And essentially what what that does is that slowly over the course of time, that narrows your competitive player pool to pick from whenever teams are trying to, pick up players for like the next season or whatever, for the next tournament or something like that. I mean, just because less and less people are going to be playing the game, and you don't want that. All right, so, and there's also to take into consideration, like what is actually good to look at from an audience perspective, and what's good to look at, from a pro player perspective. So, like, pro player perspective, it's probably fine to have all the visual clutter because, I mean, shit, that's my wall. All right, I'm helping my team advance or whatever, or like take a choke point or something so they can walk out. I don't care what the audience thinks. But from like that camera, like the audience perspective camera, when they see like everybody pop their abilities and ults and whatever, that looks like a Picasso. Like, what's that painting? Like the splatter painting? Splatter painting. Picasso. It looks like this. Yeah, that's what that looks like. And it's like, what the fuck is this? This is stupid.
The past 5 years, Valorant has experienced plenty of different metas, but one of the biggest parts of the game has always been using utility to delay the enemy. And you might be thinking, how is that any different from Counter-Strike players using smokes or flashes to do the same thing? Why does it matter? And, well, you don't get free rechargeable utility in Counter-Strike. At the peak of the Astra and Viper meta back in 2021, teams were just putting the spike down, running away, and winning the round from miles away without even needing to keep their gun out. And I'm not saying that teams shouldn't use lineups. They absolutely should. Lineups add a layer of strategic depth to Valorant, which is exactly what you want to see. The problem is that some Valorant abilities are basically just point and click.
Out of the charges.
Some abilities are point and click. No, because Apex Legends had this same thing. This same issue. I forgot whatever the team comp was, but there's like one character that could put up like a wall, like in Valorant. You know, Apex people just stole the ability from Valorant, whatever. And during the end game of a ring in Apex, it was smoke grenades from Bangalore and like black ink or whatever, or like the black fluid bullshit from like the other character. And it was just absolute, and that went on for like a year or two or something like that, until like the inner like workings, the inner circle of the coaches came to a consensus on like, okay guys, we gotta make the meta something else or whatever. The next patch changed all the character bullshit. It's like, okay, we get the visual clutter characters out and let's put like the big beefy boys in or whatever. So unless Riot changes the cooldowns, the damage or whatever, this is probably not going to change. They would need to have like a bit of an overhaul, I would say, because if nothing gets changed, it's going to stay like this.
It's still not half.
What?
Nice-oo! What a game we play. We get paid. Chat, let me get this straight, chat. We get paid thousands and thousands of dollars.
The fuck did he do?
Just
what did this dude do? So like, I'm gonna look down here. He's got like one tick of whatever this is.
What?
nice-oo! What
Okay.
a game we play. We get paid. Chat, let me get this straight, chat. We get paid thousands and thousands of dollars just to press one button, pulling them in, concussing them, pulling them in. What a What kind of agent is this?
There's been plenty of different examples of this over the years, but last year, Riot dealt with a completely different problem. Throughout all of 2024, we watched teams put the spike down.
Yeah, not only did Apex have the visual clutter problem, Overwatch has, and probably still has, the visual clutter problem. And I don't even know. I think Marvel Rivals has like a visual clutter problem.
Run off site, smoke themselves off, and then spam away until they won the round.
I mean, this just goes to show you that like all these like popular FPS games, and I'm not siding with Counter-Strike in any way because I don't really like how Counter-Strike plays. It's kind of boring to me, but like whatever. Like all these like whiz bangs and flash hoobadoos and like visual clutter, it's just, it appeals to kids. I mean, that's the target market, but it's like whatever. That's like your core competitive player base. That's what everyone else is going to be doing.
Yeah, you could argue that this has been a thing forever, but it was especially bad on Sunset. And by the end of last year, it seemed like Riot was finally willing to address some of these problems. They made changes to Sunset in particular, making it harder to play the post plant from within B main, but they also implemented a massive ping nerf. As of patch 9.11, pings no longer travel through smokes and they no longer appear in the game world. They only show up on the minimap. Now, if you ask me, I feel like this always should have been the case since Valorant came out. It always felt kind of cheap being able to just ping where the bomb was planted and spam away to win the round. But when I saw this change, I couldn't help but think that this was just a band-aid fix for a larger issue. And that issue is that Valorant maps kinda suck. And before you attack me in the comments on this, trust me, I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. Hell, even Valorant's lead
I would be willing to go along with him, but like, what's a good map look like? What's Ten's gotta say? Oh, we need more maps with actual bomb sites instead of destinations where you plant, fall back, and either spray or utility spam the spike. Most boring shit to play. Okay, everybody kind of like that. FWIW, I agree. What is that? Whatever. I think it's fine if a post plant is played from main occasionally, but I don't love how prominent this play pattern is on our maps right now. I'm invested in making it better. Is this like a map designer that's like responding to him?
Map designer Joey Simas
it is, okay.
with this when Tens was shitting all over Abyss last year.
I feel like we're gonna.
I mean, well then open up the conversation and figure out how to make it better. Make it better for the pros and make it better for the audience.
Actually go with what is the biggest problem in Valorant. It is the map design. Like it really is. Like you gotta look at even just to the bigger level, like Abyss. Like what am I actually meant to do on defense? I have to either play a site or I have to retake or rotate all the way through spawn. I have two options. Like I can't do anything good on the map. Like the maps are a giant issue in this game, and I think you're just talking of like a little micro.
I mean, what happened with Counter-Strike? Did Counter-Strike not go through the same thing with its maps? I mean, there's a whole other game that is about the same as Valorant. Look at its history and what Counter-Strike did and try to figure out what to do based off of that. Or am I just crazy?
Point? Yeah. But then I think there's loads of micro points. You put it all together and it just leads up to the big issue that the maps in this game aren't good.
Maps aside, the ping nerf has absolutely helped change Valorant at every level of the game. It took Riot 5 years, but I'm glad they finally made this change. Throughout Kickoff and Masters Bangkok, we saw it have a huge impact on the outcome of rounds. Teams were losing post plants because they couldn't rely on just spamming through smokes as easily. We spoke to Ye before the Masters Bangkok playoffs, and here's what he had to say.
I think the ping change helped, like in the sense of like, because at some point you could plant the spike like anywhere and like you could just spam nonstop. And I think with the ping change, it's forced people to plant in like more specific spots, making it like a little bit harder. Looking now, I think it's like a positive change, but it's still not enough in my opinion.
But in typical Riot fashion, they fix one problem only to add a new one.
Ooh, what'd they do?
Is busted.
That's a lot of visual clutter right there. What's busted?
Riot fashion, they fix one problem only to add a new one. Taeho is busted. Teams who incorporated him into their comps relatively fast found a lot of success throughout kickoff and in Bangkok. He was the most picked agent at the entire event at 56%. Even though T1 managed to win with mostly double duelist comps, it's pretty clear that Taeho is very strong. And now we have Waylay in the game.
What? Because he has like an ability that like just sits around and like lingers on the bomb. I don't even play Valorant and I understand this.
The jury is still out on whether or not she's OP, but in the hands of a good player, she's pretty annoying to play against.
Bro, this doesn't look like Valorant at all.
Damn.
What is going on, man?
Spike down mid. Aspas is already masked.
Like, what?
Dang.
What's happening?
Now, to be fair, Aspas could probably make any agent look god tier, but stage 1 of the VCT is starting up in most parts of the world this week, so we should start to see whether or not Waylay is a viable duelist in pro play. I know Kang absolutely farmed in EDG's opening match with Waylay, but until we have a larger sample size, I'm not going to be the one to call her broken just yet. There are still some bugs that need to be fixed with her dash, but I'm sure teams will be told not.
Hey all, fixes for Waylay, super dash bugs, and flex animation cancel should be in on 10:05. We're trying to resolve these as quickly as possible before the patch went out, so they didn't make the patch notes. Appreciate y'all for reporting it.
Not to abuse them, considering they're fairly well known. That being said, her abilities are certainly reinforcing this idea that utility in Valorant has become way too annoying to deal with. Since Masters concluded, we've seen countless pros complaining about power creep.
Not even Genshin Impact has this level of power creep. Jesus. The amount of colors and effects I see on my screen during some rounds feels like my color blindness is cured for a short duration. Now I get hit by a nade and I'm playing in slow motion. Huh. You know, it used to be my opinion that the longer a game is out, the easier it gets. But with all these like competitive shooters, it's like the longer the competitive shooter is out, it's like only a matter of time before power creep, too many characters, visual clutter. It's just, well, the power creep is pretty universal between all games. Too many characters, no, I don't agree with that. You can never have too many characters. Too many characters is fantastic and fine. And the visual clutter, yes, that's annoying, so I agree with that one.
Excessive utility and the overall lack of clarity in the game. Durgate is practically losing his mind. He just keeps posting all of the agent
off your feet, fire in the hole, joke's over, you're dead. Oi, I'm pissed. Nightmare, take them. You had your fun. My turn, who's next? Who are you divided? You are powerless. Oi, monster on the loose. I suggest you move. You want to play? Let's play. What the hell is this?
Ultimate voice lines. My guy is going through it.
Bro. Look at this shit. Tell me right now. Look at this. What do you do? He just sees colors.
The power creep in this game is too bad. Like, we've gone to a point where like this is like Valorant isn't a tactical shooter anymore. It's an arcade shooter now.
No, it's not. It's still a tactical shooter. You want to make it an arcade shooter? Make it so you have like really good accuracy while you move. Until that happens, you still have to stop and shoot. Okay, that is the defining factor for the tac shooter. Okay, stop and shoot versus move and shoot. All right, the premier arcade shooter is still Call of Duty.
Yeah, it does. It does feel like it's getting a little crazy.
If you have Taeho breaching Waylay, how the do you play on a bomb site?
Yeah.
This problem is getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and there's nothing we can do about it. This is just the
Oh no, you can. There's always something you could do about it, but it takes an ungodly level of coordination and agreeance upon everybody. And it is 100% possible, but the likelihood of that happening is probably very small because there's always little roaches, there's always little rats that want to take advantage of the situation. There's always little welches welching out. All right, what you do is you take all the most popular streamers, all the most popular Valorant people playing the game, streaming the game, and you come to an agreement of, hey, we're not playing the game. Hey, we're not streaming the game until you fix this shit. All your significant people, you just stop playing the game. But once you do that, what happens? You entirely just shave off like the top like 5-10% of like viewers or whatever, like popular streamers or whatever, top like popular competitive players for all the teams in all the regions. All right, and then what happens? Everybody else beneath them is like, oh, it's my chance, it's my turn to rise up. All right, so yeah, it's my turn to stream Valorant and be like the popular guy. All right, that's what would happen. All the popular people, their viewers just scatter and go somewhere else. All right, and then what happens? You get all the tier 3, tier 2 guys. They move up, and then all of a sudden, the matches, they're arguably more 50-50. Because the players aren't as good as like tier 1 teams or whatever. And it's, I don't know, like if it's more exciting to watch, like that's like a subjective thing, but that's what would happen.
The way it is.
Pansy chimed in on the topic too, suggesting that those who disagree with the pros might just be bronze. And
Wait, what? Seeing fans go mental on pro players saying the utility in Valorant is getting too strong is wild to me. Well, that's because you probably don't even know how to use the right utility in the right way. I'm just guessing. Yes, I'm sure little Timmy in bronze is not that bad, but playing perma retake is a bit annoying. Like, I don't know. Like, do people not understand that, like, whenever you see like a competitive tier 1 team playing against another competitive tier 1 team, the game is broken down and played in such a different way than you play it in like on the ladder. It just is.
Two, suggesting that those who disagree with the pros might just be bronze. And although that might sound harsh, she's probably right to an extent. Low elo players don't always know how to best make use of their utility. But
Yeah.
I do actually think that the average player...
Maybe the blame should fall on the developer to tell the players how to use their utility, or not tell them how to, but maybe suggest or teach them what are some things that you can do with your utility. All right, have a little tutorial for it. You know, remember those in the fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, there would be those like combo trials, and there'd be like 10 trials. It's like, do this combo. Level 1, it's really easy. Light, medium, heavy, launch, jump up, or super jump in the air. Medium, medium, heavy. And then special, which just smacks them on the ground. Bang. That's your bread and butter combo. That's your bread and butter utility for that agent. All right, why not do something like that? Riot, huh? And then level 2, you get a little bit harder. Level 3, a little bit harder. All right, have 10 levels of utility usage. Why not do something like that? Help players understand your game faster. But no, they don't want to do that. But that is against the game developers like core philosophy to like hinder the player as much as possible. Understandably, like Valorant also has like the firing range where you can like practice and do like little exercises in. It's like whatever. Apex eventually did it. Fortnite eventually did it. Counter-Strike kind of has it. The games didn't come out like that, because the moment you put players on like this like boosted like yellow arrow of like skill, and you like crowd like the top I don't know 10%, that's fine in the beginning. But if you're making a live service game, like the top like chunk of players for like the bell curve, it gets so like heavy on that side that as time keeps going and going and new players are coming in, they're not going to be like that level of skill is going to be able to be obtained from like the new players if they go through like the same rigmarole that the old players went through. But like as new players are getting better, the good players are also getting better. All right. So it's just a matter of time before the skill stealing gets like just exponentially higher.
Is starting to get a bit annoyed by the overwhelming amount of utility and debuffs within the game. And to be fair, Valorant's principle.
What does he gotta say? The amount of colors and effects I see on my screen during some rounds feels like my colorblindness. Valorant promised gunfights will decide. Oh, okay. But recently, I feel so overwhelmed by the sheer amount of utility. During chamber meta, at least people got to aim and play traditional shooter. Now, good luck seeing your screen some rounds.
UX designer Alex Wheeler did reply to Tens, and he acknowledged that clarity is something that Riot is actively looking into and trying to fix. But regardless, I think it's pretty clear that Valorant isn't the beginner-friendly shooter that Riot once marketed it as. And as more...
Nope, as time goes on, what did I just say? As time goes on, your general player base will get better, and when a new player wants to come in, like baby's first shooter, it's going to be a big wall to try to like get absorbed into like the ranked system, into the ladder.
Agents and more debuffs continue getting added to the game, there's a chance that things are only going to get worse.
Yep. Dang. So Valorant is going through it right now. Well, that's news to me. That's kind of funny. Well, good job making a video. I'm just keeping up, just casual fan of shooters. That's all I am. Just nice to know what's happening with all the shooting and whatnot. But other than that, good stuff. Keep it up, guys. That's it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.